Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Ms. Bridgewater.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. How are you today?
I'm doing well. The SAP reset date, please.
It's going to be February the 25th.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Afternoon, Francois. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Judge Mara. I'm doing good. Hope you are as well.
I am as well. Thank you. It's not quite 2 o'clock. We'll let everyone get on. And let me just go ahead and make my announcement if that's all right with you.
Not a problem.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney, we'll offer you the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their service. Let's see. I don't see any of the public defenders on. Any of them? Oh, there you go, Mr. McLean. Good afternoon. We have Miss Allen. Good afternoon, Miss Allen. So it's right, Miss Tucker. Good afternoon as well. Okay, where would you like to start?
I was trying to see if Miss McLeod was on because she would requested to go first, but I don't see her, so I'll just go ahead and move forward.
Okay.
Position number 13, Mr. Shy.
I understand that was sent in as a conflict, correct?
Yes.
We spoke to Miss McLeod.
She was,
Here she is, Miss. Good afternoon, Miss McLeod.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
This is position number 13, Mr. Shy. Have you had an opportunity to speak with him?
No, Your Honor, I've not spoken to Mr. Shai.
Okay.
Is he supposed to be a conflict?
I did not know he was a conflict. I've spoken to Mr. Simmons, Mr. Woods, and Mr. McCrae.
So Mr. McLean is telling me that Mr. Shy is also a conflict this afternoon. Is that right, Mr. McLean?
I saw it sent in as a conflict by my colleague, Mr. Cook, and I looked up the paperwork, and it must be because, although I haven't looked at his conflict paperwork, which is in the email, it must be due to a prior representation of our office.
Okay. So out of an abundance of caution, Ms. McLeod, if you can speak with Mr. Shy today, and maybe we can have you speak with him by telephone.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm just gonna have do her other two, and then after that she can talk to Mr. Shy.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
And Judge, it's a dual arrest. Position 10, Denver Parker, is the cross-defendant, co-defendant, cross-defendant.
Okay, and that's with who?
With Alan Shy. That's why
Okay.
it's a conflict.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ms. Tucker.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
All right, so who do we have before us now?
This is gonna be add-on number 1, Mr. Simmons.
Good afternoon.
That's also Miss Maureen, Miss McLeod.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Simmons. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000689J with simple battery family violence and battery family violence. Is there a history?
Yes, I show 46 cycles, 25 out of Louisiana, 21 out of Georgia. Last arrest, July 2024 out of Cobb County for a probation violation. 3 FTAs, 2012, 2013, 2019. A simple assault conviction, 2023. Willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer conviction, 2022 and 2020. Given false name conviction, 2018 and 2014. A battery family violence conviction and willful obstruction, 2013. A DUI conviction in 2022 and 2010. The last conviction out of Louisiana was from 2008, but it doesn't list what the conviction is on the GCSE, so I'm not able to tell. But that's the last cycle.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts.
You're
Ms.
welcome.
Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. And we did file a cruelty in the third degree, so there are three total charges under this accusation number 25 CR 0000689J.
Okay.
I also have requested that this case be transferred based on the fact that he's got a prior battery family violence conviction. I have not heard back from the DA's office yet. The police were called in South Fulton on the 8th of February for the second time in the same day to 7515 Jumpers Trail. They had previously been to the location where they met with the homeowner, Tracy Aston, who reported that she'd met a man online and had allowed him to come live with her for a period of time. And he was being aggressive and arguing with her and cussing at her in front of her children, and she wanted him to be removed. Miss Aston was told that she had to evict the defendant. Police asked the defendant in front of you if they could escort him somewhere else or give him a ride somewhere else, and he refused to leave the location. So they asked the parties to separate for the evening, and shortly thereafter, the police were called again. When they arrived on the scene there, the defendant in front of you was outside. He had some dried blood on his ear and on his left hand. He reported that during an altercation, the victim in this case had gone to the kitchen and got a knife, and they tussled over that knife, and he says he was stabbed. He showed police his stomach, but there were no injuries on his stomach. The other party, Mrs. Aston, reported that the defendant had ripped the glued-on wig from her head. She had torn skin around the hairline of her head as a result. She'd just had her hair done. Her 14-year-old child was present among others and saw this altercation. And it was after the defendant, who'd been told to leave her alone and stay in the basement, had come into her bedroom and continued to argue with her when he ripped that wig from her head, that she went and got a knife, and the altercation occurred. So she was arrested for an aggravated assault charge and is on the first appearance for felony today. And he is in front of you with the simple battery for shoving her during this altercation, ripping the wig from her head, causing these visible injuries around the outside of her head at her hairline. And for doing this in front of her children. We're asking for a $6,000 surety, $2,000 on each count to stay away from that location. 7515 Jumpers Trail, have absolutely no contact with Mrs. Askin or anyone in her family, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. It's also reported the defendant was pretty intoxicated on the scene. And alcohol is a contributing factor in prior convictions as well. We have 2 cases out of our office that were not batteries, but were simple assaults or simple batteries. And there's a 20 SC case as well. Alcohol's involved in all of those. We haven't spoken to the victim this morning, or the cross defendant, Your Honor, because she is obviously in custody, but we did reach out and speak to South Fulton today and speak to the officers present to get some information about the details here. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. I would ask the court to give my client as low a bond as possible. I understand based on his history, is unlikely to give him a signature bond. So $6,000 is more than he can afford, Your Honor, which is what the state is requesting. He does deny, Your Honor, that he pulled off the cross-defendant's wig. He said her wig fell off when she was attacking him. And nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, for the simple battery, it'll be a $1,500 good bond. For the battery, a $2,000 good bond. For the cruelty, a $500 good bond. Makes for a total of a $4,000 good bond. No further contact with Miss Aston. Stay away from the Jumpers Trail address. If necessary, he can have a one-time escort with police to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Thank you,
Good
Your
luck
Honor.
to you, Mr. Simmons. You're welcome.
The
Who do
total
we?
is 4,000 good, correct, Judge?
Yes, that's correct.
McCrary, position number 18.
My position 18 is a Woods. What's the last name?
McCrary. McCray, I'm sorry. Let me double check, Judge, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
It's Jaquan McCray.
Position 8.
Okay, thank you.
It's position 8, I'm sorry, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. McCray. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000677F with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, I show one prior arrest from May of 2021 out of Dorville for battery family violence and aggravated assault family violence. It looks like the battery family violence was not presented. It doesn't show what happened with the aggravated assault. Nothing further.
Hey, good afternoon, Ms. Tucker.
Good afternoon. The state's going to be asking for a $2,500 good bond in this case with conditions no further contact with Antoine Breeding and to stay away from 420 Edgewood Avenue in Atlanta. The facts allege that an argument over going out and partying led to this defendant threatening to go home, threatening to burn their property. The victim and the defendant are dating, and the defendant began punching the victim in the face, causing swelling and a laceration. We did attempt to call him. We were unfortunate we couldn't get an answer. So I don't believe he's here today. But based on the history, though it's short, a prior battery family violence arrest and aggravated assault family violence that is out of DeKalb, so we'll be getting a report in the future, but we weren't able to get one today. But for those reasons, I'd be asking for that $2,500 good bond with conditions no further contact and to stay away.
Hey, Mr. Antoine Breeding is on the line and wish to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. I would be asking for a signature bond for my client. Based on what the state is saying, I do not believe that he has any convictions. He is 27 years old. He's lived here in the Atlanta metro area for some time, Your Honor. He tells me that he's currently in nursing school. I do not believe that he's any kind of flight risk, Your Honor. I did have the opportunity to speak to Mr. Britton, and he did indicate to me that he did not want to have any further contact with my client. So I was able to speak with him. So my client, Mr. Britton, also told me that he would be moving from the location. So I would like for my client to be able to go back to this location, Your Honor, where he lives. Actually, the state did not ask for stay away from where they actually lived. It asked for a stay away from a different address, which is where the incident allegedly happened, Your Honor. The Edgewood address was not where they live.
Okay. It will be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Mr. Britton. He can have a one-time police escort to their residence. If Mr. Britton no longer lives there, Mr. McCray can stay. If Mr. Britton has not moved, Mr. McCray is going to have to gather his belongings and find somewhere else to stay until Mr. Britton moves from the residence. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank
Good
you, Your
luck to
Honor.
you, Mr. McCray. You're welcome.
Position number 7, Mayo.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayo. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000676D with failure to obey a stop sign, willful obstruction of law enforcement officers, driving without a valid license, suspended registration, and unlawful to possess, display, or use any false, fraudulent, or altered ID documentation. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, 58 cycles. Last arrest was July of 2023 out of DeKalb County for a failure to appear. Does appear to have 2 open cases. The first is trafficking in cocaine, 2 counts, possession and use of drug-related objects, illegal stop, driving without a valid license, possession of marijuana, possession of a Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance, 24 SC 001597. Second open case is possession of cocaine, VGCSA, giving false information to law enforcement officer, driving while license suspended or revoked. That is 23 CP 217657. Appears to be on probation out of Fulton County for aggravated assault. The disposition was in 2019. It was a 7-year probation sentence. Has a 2023 driving while license suspended or revoked conviction. 2019, 2 counts of theft by taking conviction. 2011, theft by shoplifting conviction. A robbery and simple battery in 2008. A sale of cocaine in 2007. And a terroristic threats in 2001. Level 3 would be pretrial's recommendation and nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge. On the stop sign, we're asking for a $500 good bond. On the obstruction, $1,000 good bond. Driving without a license, $1,000 good bond. Suspended registration, $500 good bond. And that fake ID is $1,000 good bond for a total of $5,000. The facts in this case allege that this defendant was pulled over for blowing through a stop sign. He handed officer a fake ID. He tried to flee. Another officer was able to get the keys out of the ignition from the passenger side. Then he tried to run, but he could not. He was driving without a license and admitted he has not had a valid license since he's lived in Illinois in the 1980s. And they did look up that his last license is expired from Illinois. And he had warrants out for him. You heard the history is terrible. He had warrants out for him at this date just 2 days ago. I also have an FTA out of 2023, FTA out of 2019, as well as driving suspended license. You heard he pled NOLO in 2023. I have an arrest for driving suspended license 2023, driving without a license 2022. So the risk of reoffense is very high. The risk of failing to appear is very high. So I do not believe a signature bond would be appropriate. We are asking for that $5,000 total good bond.
Afternoon, Mr. Cook.
Yes,
Is this your case, Mr. Cook?
yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Your Honor, we understand the charges and the background. I would only say this. My client is 64 years old. He is a disabled veteran, so his income is marginal. We understand signature bonds not on the table. We would ask just for the lowest possible surety bond that the court believes would be appropriate, nothing further.
Okay, these are all good bonds. For the stop sign violation, a $250 good bond. The obstruction, $500 good bond. Driving without a valid license, $1,000 good bond. Suspended registration, $250 good bond. Altered identification, $500 good bond. Makes for a total of a $2,500 good bond. No driving without a valid license. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome.
Position number 5, Hassan.
Good afternoon, Ms. Hassan. You have been charged in case 25 CR 00674 J with 2 counts of battery. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
No, I'm showing this as his first arrest.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge. We're asking for a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial on each of these counts, so 4,000 total, with conditions no further contact with Oriana Merriweather, as well as a stay away from 512 Lindsay Street in Atlanta. This was a dual arrest. However, the victim received a black eye, a bloody nose, a laceration to her finger. The victim is his sister. And when the officers arrived, she was speaking to the officers through the window. She was afraid to come through the door because this defendant was standing at the door. So for those reasons, I do not believe, despite lack of history, I don't believe this is a good candidate for an SOB through the jail. We are asking for $4,000 SOB through pretrial with the condition no further contact and to stay away.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. For the record, my client's position is that the alleged victim here was the primary aggressor, and I believe that Adrian Hassan, not sure about that name. But we would have no objection to an SOB through a pretrial.
Okay, it will be a $2,000 SOB through pretrial on each charge, makes for a total of a $4,000 SOB through pretrial level 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Oriana Merriweather, stay away from the Lindsay Street address. If necessary, she can go back to that address on 1 occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Mr. Cook, your client has their hand up. I'm not sure if it has to do with the stay away.
Ms. Hassan, typically I would ask you not to speak, but if you just want to speak about the conditions of the bond, that's fine, but we don't want to get into any aspects of the case that will be handled outside this court.
It's just about the address. The 512 Lindsay Street, that's not her address. That's where I reside. I have
Does she live somewhere else?
Yeah, she lives all the way in Smyrna. That's
Okay, okay, Mr. Sai, that's fine. I will give you a one-time police escort to go back to the Lindsay Street address. If Miss Merriweather is not there, then you can stay there. If she is there, then of course you won't be able to stay there, okay?
okay.
All right, good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Position number 13, Shy.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Shy. And this was the dual arrest, is that right, Ms. Tucker, with
Yes,
position
with
10?
position 10.
Okay, thank you. So if we can if possible, take position 10 next. Mr. Shy, you have been charged in case 25 CR 0000679F with battery. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, a total of 10 cycles. Last arrest was from 2006 for willful obstruction, fleeing, and driving while license suspended. Last conviction I saw was in 2002 for possession of a controlled substance, then 94 simple battery, and 89 dangerous drugs. Level 1 is pretrial's recommendation.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial with conditions no further contact with Denver Parker. The facts are that Miss Parker came to her child's father's home. He is living with the defendant and who's his father and his grandma, which was Wanda Shy. Wanda and Quintavious Shy, the child's father, asked her to leave several times. She didn't want to leave, so she threw a glass bottle at this defendant's Dodge Charger, and it shattered the glass. As a result, he picked up the bottle and chucked it at Miss Parker, breaking her skin, causing lacerations to her face. So he is charged with battery for that. Considering that the last arrest was in 2006, we are only asking for a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial with conditions no further contact with Ms. Parker.
Okay. Mr.
Your Honor,
Cloud?
yes, Your Honor, we have no problem with the bond through pretrial, as stated by the state. My client really does not want to have contact with her, so that's fine. She doesn't live at his home, so I imagine since it's a dual arrest, that there will probably be a condition for her not to have any contact with my client, and he's just fine with that.
Okay. As such, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Ms. Parker. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Mr. Shine.
Judge, position number 10, Parker, is at ACDC, but they don't look like they're signed on.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I didn't realize that Parker was a female. Thank you.
You're welcome. Position number 9, Norman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Norman. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000684E with battery and possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, 16 cycles. The last arrest was September of 2020 for a DUI. There was no disposition listed. All the convictions I'm about to list are all from 2009. Willful obstruction, sale of marijuana, possession of cocaine with intent to distribute was one case. Second case was theft by receiving stolen property, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, carrying concealed weapon. The third case was possession of cocaine. And then another case was possession of a firearm, giving false name, criminal trespass, and carrying concealed weapon. And level 2 is pretrial's recommendation.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we're asking for a $2,000 good bond on the battery and a $500 signature bond on the marijuana for a split bond. The facts allege that the defendant and the victim were both residents in a rooming house. The victim, Haley Bowler, came back from walking her dogs, and the defendant approached her saying, "Give me back my stuff," struck her in the mouth, causing her to fall. The defendant fell on top of her. She sustained bruising to her face, eye, lip, several scratches. When the officers came, he did have a bag of marijuana in his pocket. We were able to speak with the victim, Miss Bowler, who confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated that she's been having issues with him. He's been trying to take things out of her room consistently, and in this case her door was open as well, and she believes he was likely doing that again. So she wants no contact with him, wants him to stay away from the residence. She did let us know she'd be on the Zoom if we could sound for Haley Bowler. But for the reasons of consistent issues between them, we're asking for that split bond, $2,000 good bond, on the battery with conditions no further contact with Haley Bowler and to stay away from 991 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard in Atlanta, and on the marijuana 500 signature bond.
If Ms. Bowler is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I need for you to activate your camera for me, please.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. If you can raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down, Ms. Bowler. What would you like to tell the court?
I just wanted you to actually see what he did to my face. I've been calling the police for some time. This had been building for a while, but every time they came, they instructed him on what not to do, and clearly he didn't listen. I am fearful because, like I said, I'm a female. I live alone. I just have my 2 dogs, and that's it. Um, I just want this to be resolved. I don't want him anywhere near me, if that's possible.
Okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I make a brief inquiry of the witness?
Yes, Mr. Cook.
Ma'am, who owns the furniture in question?
The furniture?
Yes.
What furniture, sir?
Well, you said did you say he was taking furniture out of your room or?
He took a TV off the wall that the police instructed him was a civil matter. They've been out several times. The defendant, Mr. Norman, has defrauded me. I have a case against him for that as well. So, I mean, they said we would have to go to court for that. So honestly, I don't know who owns it.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 39 years old. He's a lifelong resident of the area. He owns a company called New Revolution 22, in which they actually find rooms in the community and rent them and then sublease them at from what he tells me, fairly generous rates. He's been doing this about 10 years. This might have been a dispute over an eviction or who owned the rent. I mean, who owned the furniture. In addition to that, his position is that he was the primary. She was the. I'm sorry. I'll get rid of that. That she was the primary aggressor, and nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, for the battery, it'll be a $1,500 good bond. For the possession, a $500 good bond, makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Bowler. Stay away from the 991 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Norman. You as well, Ms. Bowler.
Thank you.
Position number 18, Woods.
Good afternoon, Mr. Woods. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000682E with 2 counts of criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts? You with me, Ms. Roberts? Ms. Allen?
Let me see what it says. One moment.
If you want to go, I'll see if she comes back on. Just go ahead and give me the facts and I'll come back to Ms.
So this is a dual arrest with co-defendant Perez in position 11 today, Your Honor. This incident is from the 8th of February. The location is 196 Old Hokum Bridge Way. That's the Villas del Mirasol apartment complex. At about 6 p.m. on the 8th, a police report was made about individuals entering a vacant apartment. On scene, the police knocked and announced at 196, got no answer. While looking into the location, they observed that the glass on a window to a bedroom had been opened and part of it, the screen was on the ground. Officers made entry and did a safety sweep, and they found both Mr. Perez and Mr. Woods hiding in a closet in the back bedroom. They were taken outside, and they both reported that they'd met a woman on MARTA who said, come over to my house. There wasn't any woman present with them, and it's obviously a vacant apartment. They've got no reason to be there. We're asking for a $2,000 surety for both of these co-defendants to stay away from that location. Have no contact with each other, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Okay. Ms. Roberts, are you back with me? Do you have the history, Miss Allen, for me, please?
I can pull it up.
Thank you.
So it looks like the only, there's a theft by receiving, arrest from February of 2024. Reckless conduct and criminal damage to property arrest from the 4th of January, 2025. So out on bond from, Roswell on that case right now. February the 8th, this criminal trespass. There are also, felony entering auto warrants that were served on the defendant. So he appeared on first appearance today for that, Your Honor.
Was he given a bond? Do you know what the bond is on that, Miss Allen?
Let me look.
It's a $5,000 good bond.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And since you're there, Miss Allen, can you go ahead and give me, was it Mr. Perez's history?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you.
So this is Mr. Perez's first arrest in Georgia, and it doesn't look like there are any other arrests for him.
Okay, thank you. And who's representing Mr. Woods?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay, yes, yes, Ms. McLeod.
Your Honor, I would be asking for a signature bond for my client through the jail if possible. My client tells me that he's currently unemployed, Your Honor, and he did tell me that he was invited to this location by a young lady that he met. He did not know that it was not her place. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, for each charge, it's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Stay away from the old Holcomb Bridge Way address. No further contact with Mr. Malik Perez. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Does your client have a place to reside?
Yes, Your Honor, he
McLeod?
gave me an address where he lives with his mom and his aunt.
Okay. All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Woods.
You two have a good day.
Do the
Thank you,
same,
Your
sir.
Honor. And that concludes my business before the court. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLeod. We appreciate your help this afternoon.
You're welcome.
Do we have Mr. Perez there in the court?
He's right here, position number
Oh,
11.
okay, thank you. Mr. Perez, you've been charged in case 25 CR 0000683Y with criminal trespass, damage to property, and criminal trespass. It's my understanding that this is Mr. Perez's first arrest in Georgia. Anything to add, Ms. Allen?
No, Your Honor, just that the window had been opened to gain entry into the location at 196 Holcomb Bridge Road, which is the Villas del hold on. Mirasol apartment complex. It was a vacant apartment, so even if somebody invited you to 196, you would know pretty quickly once you had to make entry through a window and there's nothing inside, and then you hide in a bedroom closet that you haven't been invited somewhere you should be. We're asking for a $2,000 surety to stay away, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and to have no contact with the co-defendant. But obviously, since this is his first arrest, we'd ask for a SOB. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McLean?
No objection to the SOB, Your Honor. We have a phone number for him. He's 18. He's from Georgia, high school graduate, but don't have an address. So it might be good to have a social worker visit to advise him on housing.
So he does not have a place to reside?
I don't have any way of finding out his address, but I do have a phone number. And that's
Well,
about it.
if he's 18 years old, normally, and he's getting a signature bond, they're going to require either a parental co-signer or an adult co-signer. So
Right.
does he have someone that's going to be able to co-sign for him? I don't want to put him out on the street.
Right. Not that we've been able to figure out, Your Honor. He's kind of in a bad spot. So a social worker visit might give him some advice on what shelter to go stay at for now.
Okay, for the criminal trespass, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 for the criminal for the criminal trespass and damage to property, a $2,000 signature bond. The criminal trespass, $1,000 signature bond, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. I am going to request a social worker visit. I am going to waive the parental co-signer. Stay away from the Holcomb Bridge Road address. No further contact with Trevor Woods, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Perez.
Judge, you said it was through pretrial. What level is it?
1.
Thank you. Position number 1, Bennett.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bennett. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000680A with disorderly conduct and battery. Is there a history?
I show a total of 5 cycles, 4 out of California, 1 out of Oregon. Last arrest was December of 2022 out of Oregon for theft. That was a conviction. And then a 2020 DUI conviction out of California, and nothing further.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This would be this defendant's first arrest here in Georgia. His criminal history most recently up until 2020 is in California, and then Oregon 2022 theft conviction. So the first argument based on the Ayala factors is that this gentleman has no ties to Georgia. Police were called, Your Honor, on the 8th to 875 Main Street in Alpharetta. There they met at about 7:30 with a manager inside, Mr. Goodwin. He reported that he'd been told there was an altercation. He showed police the camera footage that they had of the incident, which showed this defendant and another male at the table with 2 women. The defendant in front of you reaches across the table and punches the other gentleman and then pulls him by his shirt, and they start fighting. They were separated by the 2 women they were with. The victim in this case then walked outside, and the defendant in front of you approached him and began punching him repeatedly at that point. Multiple patrons there at the location saw this. The victim, Mr. Wessner, Wessner, reported that he was trying to get away when he was approached by the defendant, and the tussle continued outside. He was defending himself. While police were talking to the victim, the defendant in front of you was screaming and had to be told to be quiet and stop multiple times, screaming obscenities, being disorderly, saying that the person he'd assaulted there at that location had broken into his house. He repeatedly ignored the commands of police to calm down and stop while they did their investigation. We did submit an NOD on the disorderly. He's got an affray charge and a battery for causing the bloody nose to Mr. Wessner by punching him. We're asking for a $4,000 surety, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, to stay away from that location and have no contact with the victim. The victim is Mr. Wessner, first name William. Thank you.
Okay, so the disorderly that's on the calendar has been NOD'd, and there's been an affray that's been added to the calendar.
He
Am I
came
correct
in with
about
an
that?
affray. I didn't add anything else. He just had the disorderly NOD. He's got an affray and a battery.
Okay. I'm just, Miss Bridgewater, I just don't have an affray on my calendar. So I just want to make sure that, Miss Bridgewater,
I
do you
don't
have
have it
that?
either. So are we changing a disorderly to the affray?
Let me look and see.
Because I don't show it either. I just show a disorderly and a battery.
Heard ya. The affray was the NOD. I moved forward on the disorderly and the battery. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. Want to make it clear.
Mhm.
Mr. McLean?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. His community ties is that his community tie, probably a couple, is that his mom has lived here for 3 years. And a year ago, he called up his mom and said, I'd like to come live with you there in Georgia. So she's been here 3 years. He's been here one. Well, she's been in the same address for 3 years. I don't know how long she's been in Georgia, but she's been in the same address on Webbridge Court for 3 years. And he's been in Georgia for 1 year when he called her and asked to join her. He's worked at Foods Grocery for the last couple of months. He worked at Kroger for close to a year. Before that, that's when he came to Georgia. So the two jobs he's had in Georgia are Kroger and Whole Foods. When he was in California, he did. So he went to Costa Mesa and I believe graduated. He would ask the court to consider a signature. He does have the stable address with his mom. Thank you. He's 22.
And Your Honor, I'm sorry, I didn't mention the location is a Taco Mac restaurant.
Okay. All right, for the disorderly, a $500 good bond. For the battery, a $1,500 good bond, makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. Stay away from the Taco Mac at 875 Main Street in Alpharetta. No further contact with William Wessner. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Bennett.
Petition number 4, Harris.
Good afternoon, Mr. Harris. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000673C with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history?
One cycle, which was from December of 2024, for possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony and possession of sawed-off shotgun, rifle, machine gun, dangerous weapon, or silencer. The possession of a firearm during the commission was dismissed. The possession of a sawed-off shotgun is an open case, 24 PI 009465. And level 2 is pretrial's recommendation. Nothing further.
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. The basis of this obstruction, officers were responding to a suspicious person with an unknown firearm call. And upon approaching the defendant to investigate, he fled, jumped over a fence, kept running, had to be tasered to stop. So, based on that, we would be asking for that $2,000 signature bond through pretrial.
Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, my client's position is that the police mistook him for someone else. He was not the party running. Other than that, he is 20 years old. He has his own business. Well, he's a barber. And he's lived here his entire life. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Harris.
Position number 14, Tatum.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tatum. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000665D with obstructing highways, streets, sidewalks, or other public passageways. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, I show 8 cycles. The last arrest from 2014 out of Norcross for criminal trespass, a 2013 willful obstruction conviction, a 2011 theft by shoplifting and possession of marijuana conviction, and then a 2011 simple battery and willful obstruction conviction, 1 FTA from 2011, and level 2 is pre-charge recommendation, and nothing further.
Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This was a reset from this weekend on Saturday. This is an incident from January the 29th at about 10:30 in the morning. Police encountered the defendant at 211 Peters Street Southwest. Basically, for at least the last week, they had contact with the defendant who, with all of his belongings, had been obstructing the sidewalk there. The documents indicate that he was covered in feces and urine, making him a biohazard, and making it so no one could get past. It also indicates that on the 4th of December, he'd been arrested for similar issues at 165 Walker Street, about 200 yards away. We'd be asking for an MHET, Your Honor, a $1,000 surety, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Why was it reset from Saturday, Ms. Allen?
I'm not sure. Maybe the jail staff can assist.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor,
It was behavior. I'm sorry, Mr. McLean.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bridgewater.
Mhm.
Your Honor, Mr. Tatum is 31. He does have a stable address in Marietta, Georgia, on Virginia Place, southeast. That's a relative's place to stay. He doesn't have any phone contacts. He has worked at Food Depot, but is unemployed at the moment. He definitely needs a social worker visit to advise him on some housing matters and possibly other matters as well, Your Honor. We'd ask for the lowest bond possible, consistent with the social worker visit.
Okay,
We would just argue that the basic facts in the warrant indicate that there's more than a housing issue here.
I'm not just gonna put him back out, Ms. Allen, so.
Thank you.
What I would like to do, Mr. McLean, is I want someone to go assess him. I want to put him, I'm not gonna make him wait till the 25th. Ms. Bridgewater, can we put him back on the calendar for the 18th, my SAP calendar?
I will, yes.
Mr. McLean, I need to know if he needs to have an MHET, so I want a social worker visit to assess whether or not an MHET is necessary. If not, what would most benefit Mr. Tatum so that he's just not on the street and coming back to us every so often, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
So it will be at this point in time $1,000 good bond, a social worker visit to assess for the need for MHET, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond, and we're going to place him on that SAP calendar on the 18th. Please, Mr. McLean, make a note in the file that I need this done in a week's time. I don't want to see him on the 18th and no one has, and he's fallen through the cracks. Okay, I want someone to report to me about his condition. Okay.
I looked up Mr. Green after last court session to see what happened. So yes, that will not happen again.
Okay, I appreciate it, and I hope to see Mr. Green tomorrow. Which has been 2 weeks from the first time that I saw him, which I did not want to have to happen. Okay, so let's make sure that doesn't happen with Mr. Tatum.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Tatum, I'll see you back on 2/18, sir. Thank you.
Position number 19, Zilberg.
Good afternoon, Mr. Zilberberg. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000685E with 2 counts of battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
No, I'm showing this as the first arrest.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Your Honor, the information I have is that this defendant's got a significant history out of Florida. And he's got a conditional discharge out of Cobb County for felony theft by receiving that was amended to misdemeanor drug objects from 2023. Multiple probation violations and failures to appear, as well as multiple thefts, failure to report abuse and neglect of a vulnerable adult resulting in bodily harm in the 90s as well. This gentleman also has an AKA Jeffrey Farrell, Farrell. The incident in front of you was November the 25th of 2024. The victim in the case is Mr. Robert Hamill. He and the defendant lived together. He made a police report at that time. He was seen to have visible injuries. He had bruising and a laceration above the right eye. Police were called to 2136 Lenox Road Northeast. An initial report was made to Officer Alexis, and then a DV investigator followed up. The victim reported that while he was sleeping, the defendant became aggravated and was harassing him, accusing him of infidelity because his phone was ringing. He said that the defendant grabbed him and slammed him to the ground and then began punching him repeatedly, causing this bruising and the laceration. He was described as bleeding heavily on the scene. The defendant also struck the victim with an iPad at some point. The victim identified this gentleman for police. They've been in a relationship for a period of time. We have not been able to get in contact with the victim, Mr. Hamill, today. But based on the history, we're asking for a $6,000 surety, no contact with Mr. Hamill, to stay away from that location and have no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. If you would sound for Mr. Hamill in case he was able to join us.
Mr. Robert Hamill is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Okay, Mr. McLean, is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Zilberberg is 50, has a stable address on Davis Drive in Atlanta, 30327. So the location will not be a problem. I've got 2 phone numbers. The Cobb matter was the theft case. He says that was a misunderstanding about the return date on a rental truck. And Your Honor, his job, his career is as a lighting designer, architectural and engineering type of designing lighting for buildings. We would ask the court to consider the lowest bond possible given the circumstance, Your Honor, including a signature bond if that is possible. But if not, we would ask the court to consider a $1,000 surety bond.
Okay, it will be $1,000 good bond on each charge, makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Hamill. Stay away from the Lenox Road address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Position number 16, Wingate.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wingate. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000687G with giving false information to law enforcement. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Judge, which position was this?
16.
16.
Odell.
I am showing 57 cycles, 30 out of South Carolina, 27 out of Georgia, with the last arrest being from 2018 for a probation violation. appears to be on probation for burglary. The disposition was March of 2016, 20 years probation. Has 3 FTAs, 2015, 2011, and 2010. A conviction for crossing state or county guard lines with weapons, drugs without consent, and selling marijuana in 2019. 2 counts of disorderly conduct conviction in 2017. 2 counts of aggravated assault and theft by shoplifting conviction in 2014. 2013, theft by receiving stolen property and driving without a valid license. 2011 and 2009 conviction for forgery. 2009 conviction for theft by shoplifting. 2009 conviction for simple battery family violence. Those are out of Georgia. He has a property offense conviction, 2004, South Carolina. Shoplifting, 2004, South Carolina. Forgery, 2002, South Carolina. And nothing further to add. Level 3 is pretrial recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. On October the 14th at about 10:50 p.m., police in East Point responded to the intersection of Dunlap and Church Street about a fight. On scene, they encountered a defendant who had been involved, and he gave a false name of William Coney. He did give the correct date of birth. While speaking to police, he ended up needing medical attention. And while being treated, he ultimately revealed his real name. A warrant was obtained, and I'm guessing he was not arrested that day. He went and sought treatment. And on February the 6th of 2025, police were called to a different location where there was a fight. They encountered the defendant who, when they ran his information, they saw that active warrant. He said he knew about the warrant. I see that there's a hold for his parole violation on that 2016 burglary case that's got a 20-year probationary period. We'd ask for a SOB through the jail level 3 and released to the hold only.
No objection.
All right, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through the jail to release him to the hold. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Wingate. You have a signature bond, Mr. Wingate.
Judge, we're completed here in courtroom 2. I did reach out to Ms. Milton, so she will be signing on shortly.
Okay, do we have any waivers today?
Not over here at the jail.
Okay,
So the next 4 females will be at ACDC.
okay, thank you.
And Your Honor, I have not received any waivers either.
Okay,
Your Honor, I'll need a breakout room or lack of streaming or something for MH for, let's see. One of the people over there, let me flip my papers here but I'll need one breakout.
okay. So both you and Mr. Cook are representing female inmates this afternoon, Mr. McLean?
Yes, all the remainder of my cases are at ACDC. I've got 4 left.
Okay, so I was just, we'll let Mr. McLean speak with his client while we do your cases when they come on, Mr. Cook.
No, I mean, Your Honor, I've spoken to the client. I just need of public display for public broadcasts for. It's Aisha George.
Okay, can we just go off the YouTube? Is that okay with you, Mr. McLean?
That'll be fine. Keith, I stole your
Okay.
call.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, I guess we'll be in recess until ACDC comes on the line.
Judge Morrow?
Yes.
Okay, if you can give Ms. Milton about 10 minutes, she's bringing the females up. She was completing felony court.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
No
We'll,
problem.
Judge Morrow,
yes, Miss Bridgewater.
I'm gonna get ready to send you the paperwork that I have, if you would like that. Or would you
Yes,
do you
yeah,
prefer
yeah.
that I send it on to you at the same time?
You can send it to me now. I've got time, so. Okay. I'm just sitting here signing paperwork anyway.
Okay, getting ready
All
to
right.
send it to you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Apologize for being late, sir. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm calling you Judge Milton. How about that?
No. I'm sorry, Your Honor. That's in the, oh, Lord Jesus. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Okay, do we have it all together now, Officer Melton?
Yes, sir, you ready to go?
Okay, all right, who do we have?
Oh, these ladies, I have 6 of them. We're gonna start with position 2, 3, 6, 10, 12, and 15.
Okay,
All right, position number 2 is Ms. yeah.
good afternoon, Ms. Galarza. And to everyone else that's there, I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their service. Ms. Galarza, you've been charged in case 25 CR 0000671J with battery, family violence, simple battery, and harassing communications. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, I show 13 cycles, 12 out of Florida, and this is the only one out of Georgia. Last arrest was for 2014 out of Florida for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. That was a conviction. And then one other conviction in 2008 for burglary. And nothing further. Level 1 is pretrial's recommendation.
Thank you. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we're recommending on the battery family violence, $2,500 good bond. On the simple battery, $1,500 good bond. And on the harassing communications, $1,000 signature bond with conditions no further contact with Jacqueline Galarza, who is her mother, or Marilyn Fonseca, who is her sister, as well as to stay away from 1705 Wilma Drive in Atlanta. We were able to speak with both the victims in this case, Ms. Jacqueline and Miss Marilyn. Miss Jacqueline is the mother of the defendant, and like I said, Marilyn is the sister. She stated the sister was getting ready with the mom to go out for the day when they went by the sister's house to pick up the son's car seat. When they entered the house, the defendant's daughter, who's only 9 years old, came downstairs and asked to go with them because she was left home alone and she was hungry. So they took the daughter to have a girls' spa day. When the defendant came home and realized she wasn't there, she started texting the sister, started sending threatening texts saying she would slap the shit out of her and to bring that ass here. And when they did arrive at her home, she was waiting. So she immediately started attacking them, punching them, even in the car. She started punching Miss Fonseca, the sister. So the mother, Miss Jacqueline, tried to intervene and then she punched her as well. Now, Miss Jacqueline stated this is not the first time that she's been violent towards her, and she wants no contact with the defendant. The victim and the defendant, the victim, Marilyn Fonseca, and the defendant live in the same complex. The victim lives in unit 8202 and the defendant lives in 8105. So the victim would like the defendant to stay away from her residence. Miss Jacqueline lives in Florida and was just visiting Miss Fonseca. There should be no issue there, but we are still asking for no further contact. The victims did let us know they would be on the Zoom if we could sound for Miss Jacqueline Galarza and Miss Marilyn Fonseca.
If either of those ladies are on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I don't see them with us, Ms. Tucker. Mr. Cook, is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor, we don't have any objection to stayaways and no further contact, and we realize this hearing is for a limited purpose. And my client just disagrees completely with the recitation of the facts as they were reported in the police report. Her position is that the alleged victims were the aggressors. They took her child without her knowing it, and that's when she began texting them, and that she also was hit uh, by her mother with a pair of handcuffs, which might have belonged to the husband of Miss Fonseca. Uh, Again, my client's position is that it seemed to be a kind of a balanced interview until the officers who arrived determined that Miss Fonseca's husband was a police officer, and then suddenly it turned solely to my client, and that is why she was arrested.
I'm
And
sorry, Miss Fonseca. Miss Fonseca is here. I'm sorry. I was trying to get my thing off of mute.
Okay, Ms. Bonseca, I'll need for you to come on camera and I'll be with you. Continue, Mr. Cook.
Yes, my client has two kids, one 17, one 9. And we would be seeking a signature bond through pretrial at whatever level the court deems appropriate. I believe her last conviction was 2014. So again, we would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. We have no issue with a stay away as long as it's understood they're in the same complex. So I don't think it could be 200 yards. And no further contact is more than fine with her.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Ms. Bonseca, if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity. I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I just want to advise that just because my husband is an APD officer didn't have anything to do with it. He was just basically trying to diffuse the situation. It was brought to our attention by the police officer that he was originally not going to arrest Jennifer. But what made him arrest Jennifer was when he seen the threats that she sent me, and I verbally sent her an audio advising her that if she attacked me, I was going to call the police on her. So that's when he reported it to his sergeant, and the sergeant told her, she advised her that if she put hands on her, she was going to call the police on her. And the sergeant said that that was probable cause on arresting her. My husband didn't have anything to do with that.
Okay, anything further, Ms. Bonseca?
Yes, and I just want to specify that the child was left home alone. Jennifer never advised me that the child was home alone. So I took her with me to go and eat. Olive Garden, we were gonna go have a date. Then I was going to come back home to drop my son off because my son was going crazy and she was supposed to stay with my son. But I guess in the midst of, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to move from one station to another. I guess in the midst of everything, she didn't notice that Jalissa wasn't home. So she called me and she's like, is Jalissa with you? Because if she's not, I'm gonna call the police. So I told her, I'm like, yes, Jalissa is with me, but you have to stop leaving that little girl home alone. Jennifer went from 0 to 100. Words were exchanged over the phone. And then that's when she texted me, which I can send the messages as well. She texted me and said, I would, excuse my profanity, I will slap the shit out of you. And I told her, if you hit me, I'm going to call the police on you. Then she told me, bring it. I said, okay, I'm on my way home. Mind you, we're basically neighbors. I'm on my way home. She's like, okay, I'm outside waiting for you. I pulled up, and as soon as I pulled up, it was just like she was literally outside waiting. You know, we're sisters. I never expected it to get to this. We argue all of the time, but Jennifer has never got physical with me.
How old is that child?
I'm sorry?
How old is the child?
Jennifer's child,
Yes, the one that you said was home alone.
she's 9 years old.
Okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Bonseca. All right, for the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Harassing communications, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Simple battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Ms. Jacqueline Galazera or Ms. Bonseca. Stay away from their residences. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, it's
Yes,
my understanding that they live in the same apartment complex. Do you want her to stay away from,
her apartment. She's
That's
not
gonna
gonna,
be
she doesn't,
Unit 8202.
8202?
Yes, that's the victim's apartment.
Yeah, I
Okay.
also already.
I can't hear you, Ms. Bonseca. You're in a place that's going out. We can't hear you, Ms. Bonseca. Who do we have next, Stacey Leeson?
Apartment complex.
So, ma'am, I'm gonna have her stay away from your apartment complex. I'm not gonna have her stay away from her apartment complex. We can't hear you, Ms. Bonseca.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. You have to stay steady for me, though.
Okay. The only thing is Jennifer has two ways to enter her unit. She has a front door and a back door. She uses the back door. The back door is the door that's closer to my unit. So the apartment complex was requesting to see if you guys can give it in writing that Jennifer can use her front door.
Well, I'm not gonna restrict how she can come and go into her own apartment. Well, what I will do is restrict her from your apartment. She can't be anywhere close to your apartment or to you. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
All right. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
What level was this, Your Honor?
Level 1.
Thank you.
Who do we have now?
Can you hear me, Judge Morrow?
Yes.
Okay,
Good afternoon.
It's position number 3, Aisha George.
Okay, good afternoon, Miss George. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000672J with 2 counts of willful obstruction of law enforcement officers and disorderly conduct. Is there a history, Miss Roberts?
Yes, 8 cycles. Last arrest was December of 2024 for criminal trespass and willful obstruction. That is an open case, 24 CR 007-586J. That was a pretrial bond, and we are surrendering that bond. And nothing further. Level 2 is pretrials. Well, would have been pretrials recommendation, and nothing further.
Tucker?
Yes, Judge. We'd be asking for $1,000 good bond on the disorderly conduct, a $500 good bond on the obstructions, on each obstruction, for a total of $2,000 with no further contact with Ronald George and to stay away from 906 Cleveland Avenue in East Point, as well as to have a social worker visit. This is the case where Mr. McLean said we would likely need a breakout for potential MH issues. If you wanted to
Okay.
continue with a breakout.
Thank you, Miss Tucker. Can we go off the YouTube, please?
Okay, Judge.
Thank you, Miss Grace.